nobody could imagine. So unexpected.
12 News received this video from a friend of LaQuanta Edwards, whose body was found near Terrell Park on Friday. Edwards was stabbed to death. Last night, her friends and family gathered in Houston at her alma mater, C.E. King High School. They remembered her life with a balloon release. Beaumont police say Thaddeus McCray is now facing murder charges in her death. Police used cell phone records and physical evidence to identify him as a suspect. McCray's bond was set at $1.5 million by the Jefferson County Magistrate Judge Rick Hughes. McCray remains in jail tonight. Authorities are investigating 3 different crime scenes, including near Terrell Park, where Edwards' body was found, Ashley Avenue, where her SUV was found, and a home down the street. We'll keep you updated as we learn more.
It's 11:45 at night. A woman calls her friend, voice shaking. "I need help, please." The friend grabs her phone and opens the location app they share. A blue dot appears on the map, 24554 Ashley Avenue in Beaumont, Texas. She calls 911 immediately. Police speed to the address. They find blood on the driveway, blood on the back steps, but no woman. Her name was LaQuanta Edwards. She was 33 years old, a mother of 6 children. By 8 a.m. the next morning, someone would find her body on the side of a road near Terrell Park, miles away from where her phone last pinged. She'd been stabbed multiple times. The man accused of killing her? He was already on probation for threatening another woman with a knife just 1 year earlier. The system knew he was dangerous. But LaQuanta Edwards paid the price. Before we talk about what happened that terrible night, you need to know who LaQuanta Edwards really was. She wasn't just a name in a news report. She was a real person, a daughter, a friend, and, most importantly, a mother to 6 children who needed her. LaQuanta was 33 years old and lived in the Beaumont area of Texas. If you passed her on the street, you'd probably see what everyone else saw, a regular mom trying her best. She wasn't famous. She didn't have thousands of followers online. She was just living her life, focused on the people who mattered most to her. Her friends remember her as someone who put her kids first, always. When news of her death spread, those who knew her told reporters she was a wonderful mother. They said they would miss her dearly. These weren't just polite words people say when someone dies. They meant it. 6 children. Think about that for a moment. 6 kids who depended on her every single day. 6 kids who needed breakfast in the morning, help with homework, someone to tuck them in at night. 6 kids who called her Mom. We don't know all their names or exact ages. LaQuanta kept her family life private, the way many of us do. But we know they existed. We know they loved her. And we know that on December 6th, 2025, they woke up in a world where their mother was gone forever. LaQuanta lived in a community where neighbors knew each other. The Oaks Historic District in Beaumont is the kind of place where families feel safe. People choose to live there because they want to raise their children in a good environment. It's quiet. It's peaceful. Or at least, it's supposed to be. Nobody who knew LaQuanta expected her life to end the way it did. She wasn't involved in anything dangerous. She wasn't living a risky lifestyle. She was just a mom, a regular person trying to get through life like the rest of us. LaQuanta was just like so many mothers watching this right now, doing her best to raise her kids in a world that isn't always safe. If you're a parent, drop it in the comments for LaQuanta's 6 children who'll never see their mom again. And if this story matters to you, hit that like button. It helps us share stories that need to be told. Now let's talk about the night everything changed. December 5th, 2025, Thursday night. Most people in Beaumont were getting ready for bed, finishing up their evening routines. But for LaQuanta Edwards, this night would be her last. 11:45 p.m. LaQuanta's friend receives a phone call. On the other end, LaQuanta's voice is panicked, scared. She says she needs help. The call is brief, but the fear in her voice is clear. The friend knows something is very wrong. She doesn't waste time. She immediately opens her iPhone and checks the location sharing feature. If you have an iPhone, you might use this same feature with your family or close friends. It lets you see exactly where someone is on a map in real time. A blue dot appears on the screen. The location shows 24554 Ashley Avenue in Beaumont. LaQuanta's phone is there right now. The friend doesn't hesitate. She calls 911 and gives them the exact address. Police are sent to the location immediately. Officers arrive at Ashley Avenue. They search the area, looking for any sign of LaQuanta. They knock on doors. They check the streets. They're trying to find her. But she's not there, at least not where they can see her. What they do find is concerning. There's blood. Not just a little, enough to know something violent happened. The blood is in the driveway behind the house. It's on the steps leading to the back door. But where is LaQuanta? Hours pass. The night turns into early morning. LaQuanta's friend is probably awake, checking her phone constantly, hoping for an update. The police are investigating, but they don't have answers yet. Where is she? Is she hurt somewhere? Unable to call for help? Is she hiding? Is she still alive? These are the questions everyone is asking, but nobody knows. 8 a.m., December 6th, the sun comes up on Friday morning. Someone is driving down Front Road near Tyrrell Park. It's a quiet area, not heavily traveled. Trees line the road. It's the kind of place where you wouldn't expect to see anything unusual. But then they see something on the side of the road, a body. They call the police immediately. When officers arrive, they confirm what nobody wanted to hear. It's a woman. She's been stabbed multiple times. There's no doubt. She's dead. The victim is identified as LaQuanta Edwards, the same woman who called for help just hours earlier. The same woman whose phone pinged at Ashley Avenue. The same mother of 6 who was just trying to live her life. Her body was found miles away from where her phone last showed her location. Someone moved her. Someone dumped her body on the side of the road like she was nothing. Justice of the Peace Ransom Deuce Jones arrived at the scene. He's the official who has to pronounce someone dead and order an autopsy. He's seen a lot in his career. This is Texas, after all, and violent crime isn't rare. But even he was shaken by what he saw. Another official involved in the case, Justice of the Peace Ben, Collins Sr., later talked about the crime scene. Collins had worked in law enforcement for 38 years before retiring. He'd seen murders, accidents, all kinds of terrible things. But this case, he said, I've seen some bad ones, but this was it was bad. I kind of wished I didn't look at the pictures. When someone with nearly 4 decades of experience says something like that, you know it was brutal. LaQuanta Edwards didn't just die. She was killed in a violent, horrible way. And whoever did this tried to hide her body far from the crime scene. But police were about to discover something at that Ashley Avenue address that would reveal the horrifying truth about what happened in those missing hours. While investigators were processing the scene where LaQuanta's body was found, detectives went back to that address from the night before. The one her phone had pinged at, 245 Ashley Avenue. They already knew there was blood outside, but they needed to see what was inside that house. Based on the situation, a missing woman, a distress call, blood evidence, detectives and patrol officers decided to do a welfare check. This means they had the legal right to enter the home to make sure nobody inside was hurt or dying. They opened the door and stepped inside. According to the official police report, once inside, it was immediately apparent that a violent crime had occurred. The scene told a story, a terrible one. There was blood inside the apartment, not just in one spot, throughout the place. The amount of blood made it clear that someone had been seriously hurt here, maybe killed here. This wasn't a quick incident. Whatever happened in that apartment was brutal and violent. The evidence showed that LaQuanta Edwards had suffered in that space. Detectives immediately backed out. They couldn't touch anything yet. They needed a search warrant to properly investigate and collect evidence. A judge signed the warrant, and the real work began. The apartment was empty when police arrived. Nobody was home, but it was clear someone lived there. There were belongings, furniture, signs of daily life. Detectives contacted the landlord and asked a simple question. Who rents this place? The answer, Thaddeus McCrae. He was the only person on the lease, the only tenant. LaQuanta Edwards did not live there, so why was she there that night? While officers were working the scene at 2454 Ashley, they found something else nearby. Just a few blocks away, in the 2300 block of Ashley Avenue, they found LaQuanta's SUV. It was parked on the street. This was important. It meant LaQuanta had driven herself to that area. She wasn't kidnapped from somewhere else and brought there. She went to Ashley Avenue on her own. But why? What brought her to Thaddeus McCrae's apartment that night? Did she know him? Were they friends? Was this a planned visit? Or did something unexpected happen? Did she go there willingly, or was she lured? These are questions investigators needed answers to. And these are questions that make this case even more disturbing. A mother of 6 drove to a man's apartment late at night. Hours later, she was dead, stabbed multiple times. Her body was dumped miles away. And the man who lived in that blood-soaked apartment, he was about to become the prime suspect. But here's what makes this even worse. Thaddeus McCrae wasn't just some random guy. He had a history, a violent one. Thaddeus McCrae was 34 years old, and when LaQuanta Edwards was killed, he was on probation. Let me say that again. He was already being supervised by the justice system for a previous violent crime. And that crime, it involved a knife and another woman. In 2021, McCrae got into a situation with a woman. According to police reports, he threatened her with a knife. But he didn't just threaten her with words. He took that knife and banged it against her car windshield while she was inside. Can you imagine how terrifying that must have been? You're sitting in your car, and someone is outside hitting your windshield with a knife, trying to get to you. That woman managed to drive away. She escaped. She survived. Police arrested McCrae and charged him with aggravated sexual assault. That's a very serious charge. It carries heavy prison time if convicted. But here's where things went wrong. The victim decided she couldn't testify. She declined to go to court and tell her story in front of McCrae and a jury. Now, before anyone judges her for that decision, you need to understand why victims often can't testify. It's not because they're lying or because nothing happened. It's usually because they're scared. Scared of facing their attacker again. Scared of what might happen to them afterward. Scared of the pressure from family, friends, or even the accused person's supporters. Some victims are traumatized so badly that just thinking about testifying makes them relive the attack. Others receive threats. Some are told they'll ruin someone's life if they speak up. The reasons are complicated, but they're real. Without the victim's testimony, prosecutors couldn't move forward with the aggravated sexual assault charge, so they reduced it. McCrae was instead charged with aggravated assault, causing serious bodily injury. In July 2024, Thaddeus McCrae pleaded guilty to that reduced charge. The judge gave him 10 years of deferred probation. Deferred probation means if he stayed out of trouble and followed all the rules, the conviction might not even go on his permanent record. It was a chance to prove he'd changed, a chance to move forward without prison time. But there were conditions. He had to check in with a probation officer. He had to follow the law. He had to show he wasn't a danger to anyone. So how long was McCrae on probation before LaQuanta Edwards was killed? Only 16 months, just over a year. Look at the pattern here. In 2021, McCrae threatened a woman with a knife. In 2025, LaQuanta Edwards was stabbed to death multiple times, and McCrae is the suspect. This wasn't random. This was a man who had already shown he was willing to use a knife to hurt women. The system knew this. The courts knew this. His probation officer should have known this. So where was the supervision? Where were the check-ins? Where were the warning signs that should have been caught? This is where the system catastrophically failed. A man with a history of threatening women with knives was walking free. And just over a year into probation, another woman is dead. What do you think should happen to violent offenders on probation? Should they face stricter monitoring? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button now, because we're diving deep into cases where the system fails victims. Now let's talk about how police caught him. While detectives were processing the crime scene and identifying LaQuanta's body, they started looking closely at Thaddeus McCrae. And his story started falling apart almost immediately. McCrae had a girlfriend. On the night of December 5th, the same night LaQuanta was killed, she reported that McCrae went missing. He didn't come home. She couldn't reach him. She had no idea where he was. Then finally he called her. She asked him where he'd been. His answer? He said he was at work, just working late, nothing unusual. When he eventually came home, he was wearing his work clothes and driving his Honda Accord. Everything seemed normal, or at least that's what he wanted her to believe. But detectives weren't buying it. Investigators did what they always do. They checked his story. They contacted McCrae's employer and asked a simple question. Was Thaddeus McCrae at work on the night of December 5th? The answer destroyed his alibi. Yes, McCrae had been at work that day, but he left hours earlier than he told his girlfriend. He wasn't at work when LaQuanta was calling for help. He wasn't at work when she was killed. He lied. So where was he? Detectives pulled his phone records. The data showed his phone was near Tyrrell Park, the exact area where LaQuanta's body was found, dumped on the side of the road. The evidence was piling up. The crime happened at his apartment. His alibi was fake. His phone placed him at the location where the body was left. Everything pointed to Thaddeus McCrae. On Friday, December 6th, the Beaumont Police Department's Special Assignment Unit tracked down McCrae's Honda Accord. They found it parked on Euclid Street. The SWAT team moved in. They surrounded the area, ready for anything. Sometimes suspects run. Sometimes they fight. Sometimes things get dangerous. But McCrae didn't resist. He surrendered peacefully and was taken into custody without any trouble. Officers brought him to police headquarters to be questioned. As they walked him down the steps to put him in the police car, news cameras were rolling. A reporter was there, filming everything. McCrae looked at the camera and said something strange. Said everything that I knew, so thank you. What did that mean? Was he confessing? Was he claiming innocence? Was he trying to control the narrative? Nobody knows exactly what McCrae told detectives in that interrogation room. But whatever he said would determine whether he'd ever see freedom again. And the courts were about to make a decision that would shock everyone. After McCrae was arrested and charged with murder, the court had to decide on his bond. Bond is the amount of money someone has to pay to get out of jail while waiting for trial. Magistrate Richard Hughes set the initial bond at $500,000. That's a lot of money. Most people can't afford that. But then something happened. Hughes received additional information from the Beaumont Police Department, details about the case, details about McCrae, and after reviewing that new information, he made a decision. He doubled the bond to $1 million sum. McCrae was brought to the jail on Saturday for his formal hearing. Hughes told him the conditions. If he somehow managed to post that $1 million bond, he'd have to wear a GPS monitor and stay in Jefferson County. No leaving the area. But the bond wasn't done rising yet. Judge Raquel West got involved. And here's something important. Judge West was the same judge who had given McCrae probation back in July 2024. She knew his history. She knew what he'd been convicted of. When she realized McCrae was on probation, her probation, when this murder happened, she raised the bond again, this time to $1.5 million. Justice of the peace. Ben Collins Sr. explained it simply. Judge Hughes originally set the bond for McCrae at $500,000. Judge West increased it to $1.5 million after we realized he was on probation. The district attorney's office also announced they would file a motion to revoke McCrae's probation. If that goes through, he'd face consequences for the original 2021 case on top of the murder charge. Justice Collins didn't hold back when talking about this case. He's seen too many situations like this. He said, "We've had other individuals out on bond, and they go out and attack the victims. I can cite half a dozen of them right here in Beaumont." He was frustrated, and he had every right to be. But there was a small piece of hope. A new Texas law, Proposition 3 and Senate Bill 9, was about to take effect on January 1st, 2026, just weeks after LaQuanta's murder. This new law would allow judges to completely deny bond for people charged with violent crimes like murder, kidnapping, and human trafficking. No bond at all. They'd stay in jail until trial. Collins supported the change. He said, "The safety of the community is one of the most important things. Everybody has the right to a bond to a certain extent, but when it comes to violent offenders, there should be no bond." It was progress. But it came too late for LaQuanta Edwards. LaQuanta Edwards' death was a tragedy, but if we can learn something from it, if we can prevent even one similar case, then her story matters even more. Technology can save lives. LaQuanta's friend used iPhone location sharing to find her. That feature led police directly to the crime scene. If you have a smartphone, turn on location sharing with people you trust. Your spouse, your best friend, your parents. It takes 2 minutes to set up. On iPhone, open the Find My app and share your location. On Android, use Google Maps and do the same. If something happens to you, someone will know exactly where you are. It could save your life. The probation system needs to change. Thaddeus McCrae was on probation when LaQuanta was killed. He had a history of violence with knives. He'd threatened a woman before. Yet somehow, he was free to hurt someone else. Probation officers are overworked. They have too many cases and not enough time. But for violent offenders, especially those who've used weapons, there needs to be stricter monitoring, GPS tracking from day one, mandatory counseling, regular home visits, random check-ins. If someone has shown they're willing to hurt others, we can't just hope they've changed. We need to make sure. Recognize the pattern. McCrae used a knife in 2021. LaQuanta was stabbed in 2025. That's a pattern. When someone has a history of weapon-based violence, the risk of them doing it again is high. If you're dating someone, do a background check. It's not paranoid. It's smart. Public records are available online. Court cases are public. If someone has a violent past, you deserve to know. Support victims who can't testify. The woman McCrae threatened in 2021 couldn't testify. That's not her fault. Victims face fear, trauma, and pressure. Sometimes they're threatened. Sometimes they just can't relive the attack in front of a courtroom. We need better victim support programs, counseling, legal protection, safe housing. If we want victims to come forward, we have to make it safe for them to do so. Community awareness matters. If you see something, say something. Blood on a driveway, an abandoned car, someone screaming for help. Don't assume someone else will call the police. You call. LaQuanta's SUV sat on Ashley Avenue for hours. Her blood was outside McCrae's apartment. If someone had reported it earlier, maybe, just maybe, things could have been different. Think about the children. LaQuanta's 6 children lost their mother. They'll grow up without her. They'll need therapy, stability, and people who care about them. If you know a family affected by violence, support them. Donate to victim funds. Volunteer with organizations that help children of crime victims. These kids didn't ask for this, and they need our help. Bond reform is progress. The new Texas law allowing judges to deny bond for violent offenders is a step forward. It's not perfect, but it's something. Other states should follow. Public safety has to come first. Yes, everyone deserves a fair trial. But keeping dangerous people locked up until that trial protects the community. Violence against women is an epidemic. Women are far more likely to be killed by someone they know than by a stranger. Partners, ex-partners, acquaintances. The danger is often closer than we think. Watch for warning signs, controlling behavior, jealousy, threats, destruction of property, any history of violence. And if you're in danger, reach out. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. There are people who will help you. LaQuanta's story is painful, but it doesn't have to be meaningless. LaQuanta Edwards was 33 years old, a mother, a friend, a person who mattered. She should be alive today, watching her 6 children grow up, helping them with homework, celebrating birthdays, being there for all the moments a mother should never miss. But she's gone, and her children will grow up without her because the system failed to protect her from a man it already knew was dangerous. This didn't have to happen. That's what makes it so painful. LaQuanta Edwards should be alive today, watching her 6 children grow up. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and share this video. Her story deserves to be heard. What state or country are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to see more deep dive true crime cases where we don't just tell the story, but examine how these tragedies can be prevented, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Justice for LaQuanta means making sure this never happens to another mother. I'll see you in the next one.